This is TJ with TechMadeEZ. Welcome to the channel. My channel is all about making things affordable, practical, and easy. And what we're going to be talking about today is FileBrowser. Kind of FileBrowser versus NextCloud. Now, no, we're not really going to make huge comparisons. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because NextCloud is great and it has a whole bunch of options that you can do. One of the things you can do with it is you can access your file server. You can share those files with others. You can copy files from your phone, from outside your office to it. Well, but it does a lot more. Calendaring and all that kind of stuff. Well, I realized when I first loaded up NextCloud, I didn't need all those features, and I had a problem mapping NextCloud to my file server because I was using it on another server. I have an app server, and then I have a file server. And so FileBrowser though was so much easier to set up, and all I really needed to do is I needed access to my file server outside my house. I needed a way to share files to others, and I needed a way to access it from my phone, from a laptop, outside my house, so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to do today. And the first thing we're going to start with the setup of FileBrowser. It's really easy to set up users, map to your drives, everything like that. How to share a file with somebody, so on, and how to create a share link for someone, so on and so forth. How to get a file off your phone to your server using FileBrowser. It's super easy, but there are some caveats. So I'm first going to go over to setup. So there's a couple things that you need to know about the Docker version that I've run into when it comes to the database, because I used to run FileBrowser just as a separate server on Proxmox, and I just installed the app, and it uses a database, and how mapping to that database is a little different with the Docker version. So let's get started. Okay, so here we are on my Casa app server, and I am running this server as a desktop, by the way. It's using Linux Mint. I didn't install Ubuntu server or Debian server. I installed Linux Mint, and I'm running CasaOS on that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over, again, like I mentioned, we're going to go over the settings, how to set this up, which is super easy. And then after we go through some of the features of it, then I'm going to show you the install. Now the install, again, whether you're using CasaOS or Docker to install it, it's not that difficult. But you have to understand how the database works in this program, because there are some caveats there. So please stay tuned for the install. It's very important, because you can't just hit install and it's done. There's one thing that you have to do after you do the install. Well, there's a couple of things, but at any rate, I just want to show you my file server for a minute. Basically. And if you're not familiar with CasaOS, CasaOS puts everything in a data directory under the file system, and here's the data directory here. We can also get to that data directory through our file manager through Casa, and our app data is where all of our FileBrowser information goes. Here's FileBrowser here. Let's go back to data. Now the reason why I'm showing you this is because I have my video server mapped in here. Now I usually map FileBrowser to my home file server, but for this demo I've just created a mock file server on my video server, and HopeNAS is my video server, so I've mapped that. So if we go here, this is going to be my video server here. Okay, so let's just go ahead, and so we're basically going to be looking at these folders here when we launch FileBrowser. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. Let's launch FileBrowser here, and the username is admin. When you first install this, you might want to change this, and then you go ahead and click in here, and these are the same folders we were just looking at through Casa's file manager. And here's my Hope server, so here's my video server, so on and so forth. So right now, as the administrator, I have access to all of my pertinent files on CasaOS, and I also have access to my video server. Now in this case, I only wanted to access my video server. I actually do not use any of these folders in CasaOS. Now you could leave this as defaults if you want. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that here in just a sec. Here, let me just go ahead and I'm going to log out of this. And I go to CasaOS, and so now once we set this up, this is one thing that we'd want to set up. So so it automatically maps to the data directory in Casa. So I'm going to go ahead and put my file directory here, my video file server, and it's called HopeNAS. So I'm going to just go ahead and save this, And now when I click on File Server, it's going to just take me directly, or File Browser, it's going to take me directly to my video file server. So I'm just going to go ahead here, I'm going to type in admin again, and I'm going to type in admin, and now this is my video file server. Now what I'm going to do here though, as administrator now, again, I would change the admin password, but I'm going to create users here because my mock file server is under my name here, and it's under FB for File Browser Server. So here's my family here. So we have Dad, we have Mom, we have Don, Summer, and then there's a folder here called Family Pics. Now, so I'm going to map to this here. So I'm going to create a user to map to this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to Settings here. I'm going to go into User Management. Now there's a lot to changing. There's a lot that you can do with File Browser, but I'm just going to show you the basics to get it set up, get started. So I'm going to go to here to User Management. I'm going to set New here, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put me in here as a user, and then my password. These are going to be really simple just for this demo. Now I want to map to that area that we were at. So basically, what I want to do here is I want to map to these folders here. Now I don't need to put in this full path though, because I'm already mapped to here. So I just need to map. All these files are found under my name and then FB server. So I just need to go back to File Browser here. I need to put in that path here. And so now I'm going to put me as the administrator, and I'll just go ahead and hit save here. And so when I set this up, I do set up a username for the administrator, because that way I have access to everything. But if I only want access to our family documents and pictures, then I'll set that up. And I can also set up another user here. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to add in another user. I'm going to add in my daughter. Her name is Summer, so I'm just going to do Sum for short for Summer. I'm going to put in a password, and then I'm going to put in the path here. Now I could go ahead and give her access to everybody's pictures, or I could just give her access to hers, and I've already typed it in there, so that's why it's coming up. And so we can just go ahead and type this in here, and now we are mapped to Summer's pictures only, and down here are the credentials that you can let them do. She doesn't need to execute any commands, so on and so forth. So rename, share files, edit files, of course, download. I'm okay with that. She can create her own directories if she wants, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to hit save here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and log out. And now I'm going to log in as me. And I'm going to show you here that I have access now. So this is what's really great. This program makes a really great service for home people that just want to have access to all of this stuff. Now I'm going to show you that you can have access to this outside your home network as well. Right now we're just accessing it through our home network, but we're going to see how we can access through the internet. So now I can have access here, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Dad here, which is me. I'm going to click on Pics. So I have just a couple of files here under Pics, but what we're going to do here is what I want to do here is I want to go back to Home here, and I'm going to go to Family Pics, because in here I want to just play this video for a minute. So you just have to double click. Now one thing File Browser will do, it will edit text files and it'll let you play video files. So this is a video file of my kids just messing around with some bumper balls, and so let me just show you this here really quick, and then it's going to go ahead and show this in slow motion. But at any rate, so if you're outside your home, you could play this as well on your phone, your laptop, so on and so forth. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop that there. And then what I want to do is I'm going to go back to my files, so I have access to everybody's folders here. So I'm going to go ahead and log out here for a minute. Let's log in as Summer, and I'm going to put in her password. And now because we mapped just to her directory, now she only has access to her files here. So if you're running a business as well, you could do this very same thing, so on and so forth. And so it just depends on how you structure your folders and files, on how you want to do that. Now, I don't care if my kids have access to all of the pictures, so I don't usually do this. I just give them the path to what we were just seeing when I was logged in. But this is one way to do it. And the reason why I don't care if they see all the pictures, because we do have that family, the family pictures and videos that they can go ahead and add to, and so that's why I like that. So they can add their pictures to that family video and picture folder. But here, if we go on to Pics here, we can see This is just a whole bunch of my daughter's pics. We can go ahead and browse through these, and so on and so forth. Now, one thing you're going to notice is this first picture here didn't show up because it is an iPhone, the HEICK extension, and FileBrowser can't read that extension, unfortunately. And in your iPhone, you can change that to JPEG. You don't have to keep it as that extension, but you can just go ahead and scroll through your pictures here, and if there's videos, you can play them just like I played the videos before. So let me go ahead and log out for a minute here. So what I'm going to do now, okay, so now that I've logged out of FileBrowser, instead of launching it here, what I've done, and this is a video that you can watch later, I'll have it down in the description below, is how to get FileBrowser on the internet. And so what I've done is I have a video on Nginx, Proxy Manager, and how to do that through Nginx Proxy Manager and DuckDNS. DuckDNS gives you 5 free URLs or domain names that you can get from them. They're totally free. And so I created a URL called FBTM for FileBrowser TechMadeEZ. So let's just go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and click the plus here, and I already have it in here. And so here is my fbtm.duckdns.org, and now I'm at my login here. So I'm going to go ahead and log in here. So now with this here, I can have access to my file browser from my phone or a laptop outside my home network. And so what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put in my username here, and we'll just put this here. I don't want to save this. And so what I want to do is let's go ahead and take this video that we were watching, and I want to share that. So the way I share this is I'm going to go ahead here. You can put in if you can put in how many hours you want to share it. If you don't do that, it will just be there. It'll be there as long as you want it to be. You can put in a password right here if you want, and then I can just hit share here, and now I can just copy this, or I can download the link as well. I don't need to download the link, so I'm just copying that, and I'm going to go ahead and email this to myself. And so I'm just going to put this link in here, and this is why it's important, because now what it's doing, it's putting my URL address in here to FileBrowser. And so you'll need to do something like through DuckDNS, or if you have your own domain, you can use your own domain and create an extension for it for FileBrowser. But so now all I'm going to do then is I'm going to go ahead and send this, and now I'm going to go on my phone, and I'm going to show you on my phone how I can go ahead and access that. But I'm going to show you on my phone too that I have access to my file server, and that I can copy a file from my phone to my file server using FileBrowser. So let's go ahead and let's jump to my phone. Okay, I've got my email open up here, and here's that file that we went ahead and emailed to me. So I can open this file now, and I can play it. I don't even have to download it to my phone unless I want to. So now we're just playing that file from here, and we can play that where we were here. We can watch them bump again, so on and so forth. Or now if I want to keep that file, then I can hit download. So it's that easy to share a file with somebody. And to be honest, if you don't use Dropbox or something like that to share, this is an easy way to share a file with somebody. So now let's go ahead and log in to FileBrowser, and let's see how easy it is for me to copy a file from my phone to my file server using FileBrowser, or copy a file from my server to my phone. Okay, so here I am on my phone, and I've got my FBTM DuckDNS domain right there. So I'm going to go ahead and put my password in, and now I have access to those files that we just saw. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go back to this family pics, and that video right here, I'm going to go ahead and download that. Now if I want to download this file to me, I know that we already shared it, but this is how on my personal phone, if I want to have access to it, I can now download this, and it's going to download it to my download folder. So it's that easy. So now if we go to my pictures here, if I go to my download, here's that video right here, and I just downloaded that from my file server. Okay, so what I'm going to do from here right now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to upload a file from my phone. Okay, so I'm going to hit File, I'm going to hit the media picker, and I'm just going to go ahead and let's go ahead and download this file here. And I can just drag this where I want to put it. I'm going to put it on Dad, and that's that easy. Now that file is sitting on my video file server.
Okay, so for right now though, I showed you how to share a file with someone. I just happened to be using my phone, but that actually could have been shared with anybody through their laptop, through their phone, through their computer, and then how to upload and download a file. But also too, you can just use it to browse your files just like I was doing on my computer. So let's say I go here, I want to take a look. So somebody, my daughter's pics, I just go into my daughter here and then I can click on those and I can go through my daughter's pics right on my phone. And this is right from my file server. So again, it's just a really great application. Really easy, really handy. So it's that easy for me to copy files back and forth between my phone and my file server using FileBrowser. It's really a slick program.
We're going to install FileBrowser, and the reason why I started with the setup, because I wanted to show you how easy it is to set it up, but I wanted to show you that that setup information is stored in a FileBrowser database, and you really have to have that FileBrowser database. If you don't have that database and you go to update FileBrowser, all of that data will be gone. So I want to talk about FileBrowser and the database itself. So when I was using FileBrowser as just a server app, you would have to create a JSON file that FileBrowser would reference. And they still use that JSON file with the Docker image. And in fact, when you go to set this up, this is it right here. And this is the same JSON file that they have you set up when I was using it as an app server. And one of the things that you had to tell is you had to tell it where the database was located in this JSON file. And so any YouTubers that even show you FileBrowser and how to install it, they will show you that you create this JSON file, and the JSON file is going to be created wherever you keep your data. So in Docket, so in Casa, it keeps everything underneath the app data, and you would go ahead and create a FileBrowser folder like I've done here, and you create a database file or folder where you keep your database here like I've done here, or Casa they create DB, and you can put your FileBrowser database in here. And then also too, under FileBrowser, you would have a location for the JSON file, and you can call it FileBrowser.json, or you can call it settings.json. Now the only thing that I really needed in here is the path to my database file. So, so then when we go to install this, and I'll just show you really quick, when you go to install FileBrowser, if you're doing it from the command line, from the Docker run, then it's going to show you here, hey, here's the path to your database file, here's the path to your JSON file, which is a config file, and then your user ID, your port numbers are here, and then you're going to pull that from FileBrowser, your directory that you're going to use to access your server files are right there. And if I was to do this in CasaOS, of course, I've already showed you where I keep my server files are here, and then this is my database and my config file here. If I was doing a compose file, this would be my compose file, and again it would have the database location here and have my config settings here. But let's go ahead and install this through Casa, and you're gonna quick because some of these I just kind of fly over because we're doing this in Casa. But if you're installing these without CasaOS and you're installing from a compose file, you are going to have your user ID here and your group user ID, and you're going to set up your ports. Now the default port is 8080 with Docker, but you can set it up any way you want. So in CasaOS, for some reason, they use 10,180 as their port. Just want to make you aware of that, so on and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and install this through Casa. We're going to talk about the database location and this config file. They must have made some changes to the Docker image of FileBrowser, and let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to go in here, and let's just go to the App Store. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing this through the App Store in Casa, or if you're running this from the command line, or you're running a compose file. Let me just go ahead and bring up FileBrowser here, and I'm not going to install it at first. I just want to show you FileBrowser's default settings. And so if I click on this here and I go to custom, it will show me FileBrowser's default settings, and this is where my database is going to be located, and here's the directory. This is where my server files are going to be, but you'll notice it doesn't have a path to the config or the FileBrowser JSON file that had these criterias right here in them. So it doesn't have that here. Now you can add this, and you can put in data FileBrowser config, and you can tell it where your JSON config file is. But this is what I found out. No matter which way I do this, whether through Casa or I created another server and was just running Docker on it only, it will not use the config file and the location that I say. Well, so let's just go ahead and install this, and I'll show you. Now, the version of FileBrowser that's being installed in here is also important, because eventually you're going to want to hit latest. But we're not going to hit latest yet. So now while I'm in here, I can put the path to my video server like I had before. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. But what I want to do is Casa does come with Portainer, and this is the whole thing. Let's go in now to our FileBrowser log, and we're going to show this here, and it's using FileBrowser JSON. So it does, and that's the config file, and you're going to see here using config file JSON. But no matter what criteria I put in there, I could never get it to use my own config file. Now this becomes important again in just a minute, and you'll notice it doesn't say that it's using any database file. Let me just tell you right now, if we launch this and we typed in admin and we create a user and all that kind of stuff that we did before, because it's not using a database file, and I go into Casa, and let's just say that I decide, oh, I need to change my path to my server here and put in my video server path, and I hit save, all of those settings will go away because it is not using the database file right now. So and this was the thing when I first started using this, I'm like, wow, what? I made some changes, and then I updated, and then all the changes I made in the setup were gone. Now, one thing I will just show you really quick that I didn't show you before, and I should have showed this in the prior version, or when we were first in here. When we go to settings here, we go to global settings. It does have a dark theme that you can do here, and you can run it in dark mode. It doesn't have to be run in light mode. That's one thing I did that I was meant to show you before. So now what it is, we have to get the way we activate the database file. So any users we put in will be saved. So any updates we do or anything like that, we'll always have our user information in there. We go to settings, you have to put this on latest. For whatever reason, I don't know if this is a bug, but it will not use or create a database file unless you put it on latest. So now if we hit save here, let's go ahead. We'll wait a minute for that to install. Okay, so now let's go to Portainer here. Let's go back, and what you're going to notice in our log file, look what it says here. The FileBrowser.db could not be found, so now it's initializing a database DB file. So now FileBrowser is going to use that database file for all of those users I set up before. So all those users you set up, it'll create that. So if you update, maybe there's a newer version of the Docker image that you want to update, all of your user information will be saved. But this is the problem. No matter what criteria I would put in, here for it to tell it to use my database file, my location, it will not do it. It wants to use its own. It will always say that it cannot find the database file, and it will not use the config file that I set up. Okay, so even if I go ahead and install a custom, and I go ahead and grab my own YAML file, hit submit here, okay, and even if I do this here, it still will not use this file browser. And it doesn't matter whether it's in CasaOS. I set up another server, like I said, and I ran Docker from the command line. I ran FileBrowser from the command line. I've created I created a compose file, ran it that way, put in all the criteria for it to read where my database was, read my own config file. It would not work. But don't ask me why. I don't know. I did do some reading, and they said that with the Docker image, you don't need your own config file because FileBrowser creates its own config file. But the problem is with that config file tells FileBrowser where your database file is. So I think when it uses that latest, it's not located in the FileBrowser JSON file, so it just goes ahead and creates it. The issue that I have though is if I look for that JSON, FileBrowser.json file that it's using and the database file, I cannot find it anywhere on the server. So there's no way for me to back that up unless I back up the whole server. So that's one quirky thing that I don't like about the Docker option with FileBrowser, is I have no way to back up that database file. I have no way to back up the JSON or the FileBrowser JSON file. Other than that though, it works great. And I'm not worried about it because if for some reason I have to reinstall FileBrowser, or that database file gets corrupt, I can always redo it, because I only have so many users that are going to be accessing my file server. But if you're a company and you have 25 to 100 employees and you're setting up FileBrowser for all of them, and you lose that database file, that could be an issue. So I don't know. I just don't know. I'm not a Docker professional or anything like that. I don't know why FileBrowser, why the Docker image of FileBrowser is working this way. But it works. But you are going to want to put latest in there, so when you save all of your usernames and your settings, they're going to be saved if you do an update. Anyway, I hope that was helpful.
Now that was easy peasy.